Spider-Man No Way Home is the kind of movie that can only happen once in a lifetime. The kind that can bring together fans from several different eras of film and media consumption. Whether you're a fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, the Marc Webb films, or the MCU and its interpretation of Spider-Man, there's something here for everyone. I've heard a lot of criticism about this movie now that the dust has settled. How Into and Across the Spider-Verse is done so much better, and how No Way Home falls into the trappings of other MCU films. While I don't necessarily think any of these are wrong or invalid, I still haven't seen either of the Spider-Verse films. Regardless, there's a special magic with this movie that just can't be replicated. Something that inspired me to go and see this movie 3 different times in the theaters, and fall back in love with it each time I did. The kind of magic that got me to buy it on Amazon the day it released, and feel sincere regret when I wasn't able to put time aside to go see the more fun stuff version when it released. No Way Home may not do everything right. It may have some of the compromising elements of other MCU films, but it also has the spark of a classic Spider-Man story. It has something that only works because of the prior history of Marvel films, and it will never get old to me. I will never get tired of watching this movie, no matter how many cynical takes on this film I consume, or how many people I see and read about that say Spider-Verse is so much better, that it's Spider-Man and dimension hopping done right. It will never be on the level of No Way Home for me, because of its unique connection to nostalgia and the spiders of old. I was born in the late 90s, so suffice it to say I grew up with the Spider-Man films, starting with the 2001 Spider-Man up to the MCU Spider-Man films, as I'm sure is the case for many who watch these movies today. Because of that, these movies hold a unique connection with me, and seeing them all come together in No Way Home was like an absolute fever dream, something you would only imagine and think about, or fanfic while you play with your Green Goblin and Electro action figures. What? No? Just me? Okay, just try to imagine for a second you're me. You're watching the original Spider-Man trilogy while you're still a toddler, seeing all these colorful characters that leave an impression on you. Then you're a little older, you watch the new movies, and you start comparing them to the ones you watched as a child. You fantasize scenarios in your head. Oh, what if the new Spider-Man met the original Green Goblin? What if the original Spider-Man fought Electro? Then the MCU Spider-Man debuts, and you're dreaming up all these kind of fantasy scenarios about them meeting up and working together. Then this trailer drops, and your mind just explodes.
Be careful what you wish for, Parker.
Hello, Peter.
That's hype. I understand that sort of marketing can really skewer the opinion of a film. Prioritizing spectacle and fan service can blind someone to a film's flaws and make someone think it's better than it is. But I don't care. I loved all of these movies, and seeing 3 generations of Spider-Man brought together like this, while simultaneously giving us the proper Spider-Man story this Peter we've followed for 3 movies if you count Civil War needed, was so utterly satisfying and mind-blowing. It doesn't matter if it was intentional that these movies were MCU Peter's origin story. They serve that purpose retroactively because of No Way Home. It recontextualizes these movies in a way that makes them better by association. What's so wrong with finding joy in that? This movie is special to me in ways I can barely describe, but I will try for the sake of the video. And the first thing about it that should be mentioned are the villains. They were the most marketed aspects of the film, and almost stole the show from the Spider-Man on multiple occasions throughout the movie. Even though some of what they got was considered damage control for the way they were handled previously, a lot of it was just Buffyverse level stuff between characters we know really well, and watching them work off each other in ways we never thought we would get to see. Like seriously, tell me these don't have the same energy.
Have we met?
You hit me with an axe one time. Remember? Get the hell away from my daughter.
Oh. So, do you, live here in town?
A majority of voters oppose the Statue of Liberty renovation.
Oh, sorry. So this is your plan, Peter? No lab, no facilities, just performing miracles in a condominium? What, you gonna cook up some cures and some frozen burritos in a microwave?
I could go for a burrito.
Even if some of it is a little weird or inconsistent with how they were originally portrayed, it's still just so cool and mind-boggling. I can't help but fanboy when I watch it, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. This is such a special movie in so many ways, that the flaws end up becoming superfluous as a result, even though some of the criticisms are totally valid. The villains, as I said, were easily the most advertised part of this movie. They were prominently featured in the trailers leading up to the movie's release, and they end up with quite a bit of screen time in the movie. And I cannot stress enough how happy I was when I found out Green Goblin, my favorite on-screen Spider-Man villain, was the main antagonist of the movie. I've been a fan of Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin from day one. It's my favorite design of the Green Goblin I've ever seen, and I'll never understand the criticisms directed at it. First off, the mask is great. I know Willem Dafoe's facial expressions are a major piece of his acting, but there's a talent to acting with a mask, as seen in every Super Sentai and Power Rangers series. When you have a mask, you express what you want to convey with your body movements. I don't care if you think it looks hokey or comic booky, whatever the hell that means. It's good, and the design was incredible, and the shots of Goblin and Spider-Man fighting in the carnival were great. It was also hilarious watching him beat up cops. Like, is it just me or was that really funny? Anyway, this design was incredible, and I'll never forgive the glow-up they gave him to compensate for the criticisms jerks unfairly delivered onto the original because they don't get the nuance of masked acting. Willem Dafoe is also a badass in real life who likes to perform his own stunts to add authenticity to the role. You can feel that as he kicks Tom Holland's ass all over the condo, not unlike the beating he delivered to Tobey Maguire in The Warehouse. The Green Goblin is absolutely terrifying in this movie. He's like a devil on Norman's shoulder, not unlike the original movie, though with some alterations present, especially when you more closely examine the Goblin in the original movie and what the goal actually was. It's a bit inconsistent, but it's close enough for this movie, and it creates some great moments in the film itself, like Norman helping to create the cure for Octavius and the others, and allowing us to see just how much he admires Spider-Man. It's kinda nice. But as soon as the Goblin takes over, the whole vibe completely changes, and the movie goes from a silly slice of life piece with criminals to a drama and a horror movie at once. The beating in the condo is honestly hard to watch at times, not because it's especially gruesome, but because of how personal and closed in the fight feels. Even as they smash through walls and floors, getting tossed through windows and body slammed WWE style several stories, it feels intimate. It makes the fight just uncomfortable enough that it's amazing and makes the Goblin feel like a genuine monster in this moment.
Strong enough to have it all.
Too weak to take it!
But this isn't a critical analysis of No Way Home. As I've said, I'm sure it has its flaws being a modern MCU film, but I'm not as bitter in contempt towards it as most people are nowadays. I'm still enjoying most of the MCU films I've seen, and No Way Home is the standout of Phase 4 for me, purely due to its emotional connection to people like me, people who grew up watching Tobey Maguire, people who went through high school with Andrew Garfield, people who watched Tom Holland define himself by a man he admired, only to have to give it all up and make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good, because that's what Spider-Man does. It's nostalgia done right. The callbacks are fun, the references serving to enhance the experience for those familiar with the source material, creating memories for newcomers and reliving them for longtime fans. It's a movie that knows what it is, but instead of simply embracing it and giving the bare bones, it tells a compelling story about the weight of responsibility and having power, the pillars of any good Spider-Man story. We get to see these older, experienced heroes pass on their knowledge that we've seen them accumulate through their stories, to the newer, younger hero, allowing him to turn a corner before he makes the same mistakes they did, before he drags himself down the same dark path. Things like nostalgia and pandering have become something of dirty words in these last couple of years, but in small doses I think they can be great things. Hell, sometimes in egregious and astronomical floods as long as it's done well. And I think No Way Home accomplishes that. It's been said, but the truly weakest parts of the film are the MCU parts, the ones that remind us this movie takes place in in a shared universe with other superheroes. But even those moments have their bright spots in this movie. That's what I love about No Way Home. It's unashamed of the amount of fan service it delivers, and it kicks us in the teeth with the feels and the laughs. So yeah, I love No Way Home. I don't think there's a universe where I can say I don't. The combination of previous generations of Spider-Man, along with the well-established Marvel Cinematic Universe, all serve to make this one of the most unique movies, not just as an MCU film, but also as a Spider-Man movie. In fact, I started watching it again while I was editing and putting together the clips for this video because I enjoy it that much, and chances are I'll probably go ahead and watch it again once I'm done. So thanks everyone for watching. Please take a moment to subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.